welcome to another episode of the Hey Hire Us podcast with your hosts, Ariel
and Abigail.
Yay! Today we have an amazing friend with us. It's Miss Winnie Liu. Hi!
Yay!
So excited to be
Winnie
here.
Is one of our friends from our favorite post-art school Discord group, and she's an amazing illustrator and designer, and we're so excited to have her today. Yay!
Yay! Winnie, do you want to introduce yourself to our listeners?
Sure, yeah. Like Ariel and Abby mentioned, we met through the post-art school Discord, which honestly, number one socializing pro of 2020 for me. It's just saved me and probably a lot of other people so much, like, oh, I can't go out and meet people, but the internet still exists. But yeah, my name is Winnie Liu, and I graduated 2020 from the Pratt Institute, and I consider myself primarily an illustrator, but I also do design, and I've dabbled in lots of other things like, motion graphics and various print things. I also love making things by hand, whether that's like, I don't know, little clay sculptures or merchandise, or I got really into shrinky dinks the last couple of months. Those are fun.
Yes.
But yeah, that's me. Oh, wait,
Yay.
I forgot the most important part. I'm sorry. My favorite color is pink. That is very important.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to know that.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I mean, just look at the background. Winnie,
represent.
I mean, you can't see, I guess, because it's a podcast, but Winnie has her beautiful art as her background, which we will definitely retweet on our social medias. And we don't want to skip this corner because we sometimes forget to do it.
Oh.
But the first corner of our podcast is called the pitching corner, where our guests come on and pitch themselves either through a rap or an infomercial style or Broadway style or just any way that they want. And Winnie, do you have something prepared for us?
I do, unfortunately.
Yay!
Why unfortunately?
Because
There's no unfortunate.
Because I've had to stare at the things I've written, and I was like, I've written it. I'm not going to practice it. I'm just going to go for it while I'm on the podcast, because if I have to read this more than once, I might not survive, guys. So this is really bringing me back to like early high school when teachers are like, oh, this is English class, but like do a skit for the class. I'm like, oh my God, I don't have anything.
We're bringing you back.
Really bringing me back. Okay. So I guess this is like a rap, I think. Like, it sounds kind of like a suburban mother's like conception of rap. So we'll see how it goes. But should I just start anytime?
Yeah, just go when you're ready.
Oh, this is summoning so much bravery. Thank you guys for giving me this opportunity. All right, here we go. Hey, good fellas, my name is Winnie, illustrator and designer with talent, not many. Some may know me as Winnie is pink. I made it easy by using that for all my links. I make cute things for adults on paper, merchandise, and sometimes clay. Just because we grow up doesn't mean we can't play. I learn fast on the job and people call me a hoot. Good with deadlines and bursting with energy to boot. So hit me up if you need a helping hand on your gig. I can shower some magic on that project, small or big.
That's so good! Wow.
Yeah, it's
You are
Pulitzer-winning, Pulitzer-level writing right there.
I know. Spoken word
goodness.
goddess. A genius.
Yeah.
That was beautiful, yo.
Thank you.
I love
Great.
it. So we stalked your resume like we always do with our guests, and we're excited to discuss all the things that, because I love doing this podcast because I find like I learn so much about my friends and projects that they do, because not everyone like advertises like, oh, I did this. You just talk about like other random stuff. So it's really cool, and it was really awesome seeing like all the projects you did.
Oh, thank
Ariel,
you.
do you want to?
Well, first things first, I just want to compliment your work, because while we were like stalking your work, I couldn't help but like my favorite section to go to on portfolio websites is always the sketchbook section when someone has one. And your sketchbook section, it made me so nostalgic because it made me flash back to a lot of the illustration books I used to like browse as a kid, and like the style was just what I was obsessed with. So I'm just like, there's something so nostalgic about your work, and I love that about it. And I just wanted to tell you that because I haven't mentioned that before.
Excuse me, miss. Showering the compliments so early. You're gonna give me a toothache.
Of course.
Yeah, but yeah,
so
there's just something so nostalgic, and I don't know, it just makes me feel good and excited about, and I feel like this is like what I would like to see in stationery stores a lot. This is the kind of work I miss from my childhood. So,
that's
yeah.
so sweet. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to hear that. I put that very recently on my website. I don't know if Abby saw it a bit, but I know we personally talked about both of us studying abroad in Japan at some point in our college career. So my sketchbook section is just like, I suppose you would call it illustrated travel diary that I did of my time there.
I love that.
And unfortunately, it's kind of been sitting in the background for like a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years at this point, and I just like hadn't shown anybody it except like people in my closest circle, right? And I was like, you know what, screw this, I'll just put it on my website.
Yeah,
It's so
thank
nice.
you. And I think the reason, sorry, you go.
No, I love seeing, like, one of my favorite things are sketchbook zines, and I feel like that would make a really, really good sketchbook
I was just gonna
zine.
say, I was like, have you considered making this into like a little zine?
So I have, and that's sort of like the good thing, and also the sort of problem, which is I've always wanted to make that into like a tangible product, printed, whatnot, and it's that sort of thing where you do a project and you're like 80% of the way there, and then for some reason the last like 10 or 20% you're just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So I just like for whatever reason haven't been able to find the time or space or energy to just like finish the last couple of pages I want to put, which admittedly is probably more like a personal achievement thing I want to do. Like, I've done so many pages that I could very much just be like, this zine is done, I'll just like send it to test print someplace. But I'm like, no, there's like 10 or 20 other pages I really wanted to put in. That I just like, okay. So my goal was to finish that by 2020, but other things happened. So I will try to finish that at another time. That is also soon. But thank you guys so much for your feedback. Like, it makes me so happy to hear that it made you happy.
Yeah, your art always makes me so happy. I always love hyping Winnie up. I'm like, follow Winnie, please.
Yes, follow
for having
Winnie on the
number one
social
supporter.
media.
She's the president of my fan club, and I'm so enamored and flattered.
Please, guys. I'm always like quote retweeting. I'm like, hey guys, please follow Winnie. That's why we have you on here.
Yes.
And on your resume, we see that you were like an intern for a bunch of different companies, and like for Sticky Club in 2018, and also you were an intern where you made a 28-page coloring book and designed it. That's so cool. Do you want to talk about that experience?
Right. So I think that was an internship I did with the Department of Sanitation in New York City between my sophomore and junior year of college. And at that time, I unfortunately kind of really stressed with the idea of I must get an internship. You know, I think we've all experienced that at some point in our college career, whether you're an art designer or whatnot, but when you feel like, oh, your peers are all getting ahead of you, like, oh no, this person got this really fancy opportunity or internship, and I really need to find something or else I'm going to fall behind. So that was not a fun feeling. Don't recommend it. I also just like really hate the idea of, you know, much easier said than done, but like comparing yourself to others. And I knew that like, oh, I shouldn't be so hard on myself, but I was like, I must find, you know, some sort of internship or else am I going to be considered a failure? You're not, but you know, these kind of thoughts happen, right? So I was actively looking for something, and I found that internship, I think through the job site for my school. And at first I was like, this sounds interesting. Like, why would the garbage disposal company or like the public garbage disposal company of New York City need an Illustrator intern? And then I sort of read about it more, and I was like, oh wait, this actually sounds really cool. You know how public agencies, you know, like I was gonna say the firemen. That is not what they're called. The fire department. The firemen work at the fire department. They'll have like coloring books that teach you about like what the public agency does. Like, this is how we help the city. So they needed someone to do that for DSNYC. And kind of like they wanted to I saw their old ones, and I think I can say this because my supervisor said this to me. It was bad. It was very outdated. It had those like cartoon googly eyes from like the late 90s and 2000s, where you were just like, this thing is borderline between cute and kind of creepy, and just art style was all over the place. And so they wanted like a new coloring book to update that sort of artwork and also teach about various aspects about the sanitation department, like the history and what they do and whatnot. I actually learned a lot about them and just what they do for the city as well. And because I think the people who take away your garbage, they don't necessarily have the most beautiful public image. You're like, oh, it's like they do an essential thing, but like, oh, it's the garbage people. But that's the thing, like they do such an essential job. I don't remember the exact statistic, but like if, you know, something seriously went wrong with the garbage disposal, I'm sure literally in days, like a city would fall apart because you need that to happen. And my department also was specifically zero waste communications within the sanitation department. So they really focused a lot on like recycling and, you know, environmental awareness. And
that's so cool.
Wow.
I have not followed up on this, but I believe when I was interning there, they were in like the midst of doing like zero waste by 2020 for New York City. It was just really just trying to reduce the waste. And there's also the department that like got compost started with bins that could be placed at various apartments and buildings. So overall, just like really great. I really glad I interned there, and I completely just was amazed by the sort of work they do. I'm completely supportive of it, right? They do so much for the city. And yeah, I had that opportunity to do a children's coloring book for them, which I believe you can, if you search it up, it's publicly available. You can like download. I don't know why anybody listening to this would want to download it and color it.
I wouldn't download it.
But like,
everyone's gonna start coloring Winnie's work.
If you happen to live in New York and you maybe have a little kid and it's the middle of quarantine still and they need something to do, you can download and print that coloring book, and it'll teach you about the garbage trucks and ice things they do, like they plow the snow in the winter and recycling, all the good things, you guys.
That's really neat though, because like just listening to you talk about that, and you know, especially for us while we're in the job hunt, like you don't necessarily think about, you know, finding an art job with exactly like the department of sanitation. So opportunities are there. You just have to be willing to like look for it and like read through the description, because you'll never know. And hey, I'm like, for me, since I'm very much into like environmentalism as well, I'm like, makes me think, where else can I snoop around?
I think sometimes opportunities
look for a little
are
job.
kind of in the least expected places for us. Also for me specifically with that internship, I you know, minus like the first initial like, oh, it's surprising to be an art intern for this department, but furthermore, I was like, I'm really not sure about my art style. Like, I really applied on such a whim. Like, you know, there's nothing to lose if you apply to something. The worst that happens, they reject you. But I was like, because if you look at my portfolio, there's a range of things, but when it comes to my personal style, it skews towards the cute. It skews towards like the cotton candy pink, fairy-esque type stuff. So I was like, for the Department of Sanitation, are they going to think of me as a viable candidate when my art looks like this? And I somehow got the job, but it was, you know, I'm really, again, really flattered, really happy for the opportunity. It's like one of the best, you know, internships that I did. But the job itself also taught me like, oh, I can do various things. Like, yeah, of course, I have a personal style that skews a certain way, but if you look at what I did for them, it's still me. Like, I drew it, but I drew my characters. Realistic is a very, like, how would you say? that's maybe giving myself a bit too much credit, but for my kind of art, it skewed more on the realistic style, right? Like I tried to depict people of various backgrounds and also children and adults, and drawing the more realistic aspects of life, like buildings, or like literally the garbage can from the sanitation department. So I was like, it gave me an opportunity to still do work that was me, but show that I can make things for different audiences and demographics, and kind of shift my style a lot depending on what the project needs, which I guess is what all creative people do.
I just love that your whole mindset, because it's like people might think, oh, an internship is only good, or like it's only worth it if it's like for big companies like Disney TV or DreamWorks TV. But I love how humble you are going into this, because you did learn a lot, and I feel like I can tell just from listening to you like how much you learned and how much you grew from that. And I feel like if I was someone who wanted to hire, I would want to have someone like you, because you're not scoffing at something that others might deem like lower than them. It's like you will go into any job very genuinely, and like you want to create the best work, and you will try your best to help cater to that client. So that's really cool and awesome.
Thanks, Abby. The sort of big company lure or desire to be at one, I totally get it. I just don't think it's never, I've never for some reason felt that way. Like, of course I respect places like Disney, their scope and what they do, but I think my nature kind of makes me want to work with the smaller people a bit more. Maybe because I have social anxiety. I'm like, oh, Disney's too big. It's scary. I don't want to work there, even if the money is more. No, but I really, it's cliche to say you really want to work at a place where you actually care about the work. I'm not going to say that has been my entire mantra, because I've sent many job applications where I'm like, I don't know if I love this company like as the company that I would like to work at for the rest of my life, but girl needs money. But overall, I still, when possible, try to seek the places that I think I could really add some sort of value to, and that the company's actual values I really resonate with, and I care about what they do. And I think that it comes with a bit of privilege, right? To say that you want to work on a place that you really care about, because a lot of people don't have the ability to do that. You just need it. If you need money, you might just take whatever becomes available to you. But I mean, whether big or small, I want to make sure that it's a place I think that I would actually fit in, and whose mission is something I actually want to contribute to. And who knew that the sanitation department of New York City would become one of those places at some point in my artistic history? But it's a really great opportunity.
And you like have so many other clients. Like, is there any other like listed on your resume, like Tofu Goo and Rainbow Holic and Moonstruck Shop? Is there anyone that specifically that you want to talk about, like the experience that you really enjoyed?
Well, all the ones that you mentioned were all great clients, but maybe I can't speak too much because they were just one, how would you say, like one-off commission or freelance projects. But the one with Moonstruck Shop, which now that I mention this, again, is a reminder of how inactive I have been on social media, and I just often forget to post things that I did or made was a part of, and I don't know why. I don't know why. So I did a t-shirt design for Moonstruck Shop, and it's been released for like a year or two, and I was really proud of it, and she posted on social media often, and I just don't know why I just never did it. I just never linked it. I just never posted on my social media like, hey, you can buy this t-shirt. But you can buy this t-shirt.
Oh my gosh, we are linking this. We are definitely going to link this.
From Moonstruck Shop, which I met at a local convention. I think, was it with you two that I was talking about at some point about how great conventions and artist alleys are?
Yeah.
I met the owner of Moonstruck Shop because I was at a local convention in my hometown, and she just came up to me and was like, I like your work. I think I'd like to work with you. And I was like googly eyes, like, oh my gosh, really? And then I gave her my business card, and then I did a t-shirt design for her. But yeah, I was like pink. It's like, it was one of those magical girl inspired designs that's like fight like a girl. That was really great and fun. Rainbow Holic, she's a Filipino vlogger about Japanese life, mostly like cute things and stationery. I forget how long she's been in Japan, but I had followed her work for the longest time, and she found me surprisingly through social media, even though I'm so inactive, because
this is another sign, Winnie.
I need to do more on social media. This is a true fact.
Yeah.
Because this is a bit connecting the dots. I was doing a school project, which the assignment was to like do a little presentation about an artist you admired. So I did it about Chichi Little, who I just absolutely love her work. Maybe some of you guys have heard of her. She also was known as Little Miss Paintbrush, or still is. She has different monikers.
My goodness.
Also Filipino artist. But
I'm like flashbacking to like my early artist days.
Completely.
Like, I remember them
completely
so well.
Same as well. But I made a little zine about her because I just love her work so much. And then I was in contact with her about that. And then I sent her the physical zine, and she posted about it on social media. And I was like, wow, this is the highlight of my life. Everything's downhill from here. Like Chichi Little shouted me out because of it. So, and then she's really good friends with the owner of Rainbow Holic, Kyla, and she found me and was like, "Oh, I really like your work. Can you do a little animated intro for my YouTube channel?" So I did that for her. I think she's still using it.
Cool.
I haven't watched her videos in a while, but it's like the intro and outro for all of her YouTube videos.
That's so
But the
cool.
cherry on top was when I went to study abroad in Japan, I was able to meet up with her because she lives close to the Tokyo area. Not in Tokyo, but that really was a very surreal moment where I was like, all the dots that had to connect for this moment to happen?
That's so cool.
And we took those,
I love the internet.
Purikura, you know, those like Japanese photo booths where all the sparkly stuff.
Yeah. Oh my
have
gosh,
that
I took so many.
immortalized in print. It was just really, really amazing.
Oh, that's so
Oh my
cool.
God.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Definitely. I haven't done like a freelance project in a while. I've been doing other things, but of the ones that I did do in the past, I'm really thankful and grateful grateful for each opportunity. Like everyone has always been very kind to me, and really I cannot believe the luck I've had to work with clients that I really just like really genuinely enjoyed their work and wanted to work with them. Like I freaking have been following Kyla for years. And she was like, "Would you like to make an intro for me?" I'm like, I would love nothing more.
Oh man, that's so cool. And just like you mentioned tabling cons, like I've never tabled at a con, but I've been to cons and I've always been really interested in them. Like, do you want to go into
my
experience
goodness.
and like any advice?
Yes, like
and just like pitching yourself to customers.
here we have,
like...
I will start my 10-part PowerPoint presentation about why I love artist alleys so much.
Yes.
I have personal attachment to them because that was, it was in a way how I started to get myself out there. You guys both know I'm not the most social media savvy person. I literally,
As we've
I literally
established.
opened Twitter for the first time like 2 months ago. I'm 22 years old, guys. Like I've never seen the Twitter app. I still don't know how to use it sometimes. So that is how not social media savvy, how not I'm on the internet. But growing up, I will out myself as someone who liked anime. Why did I say liked? I still love anime. I did not.
You're among friends.
I did
here.
not
We all
outgrow
love
my
anime.
face, Mom. But because of that, you know, anime conventions like really make sense as sort of a segue into things you can do in the real life concerning a hobby, right? So I think I went to my first anime convention when I was like 14 or whatnot. And I went because, you know, I love anime manga, and to see cosplay and various things in real life sound really exciting, and panels. But what I didn't know, well, I guess I knew people would be selling things there, but I didn't know what an artist alley was. And then when I entered the first one that I went, the first one at the convention I went to, I was just absolutely amazed. Like little 14-year-old Winnie was like, oh, you can do this? You can like make your own art and sell it to other people in a direct way where you can interact with them and you can see the product in person, and everyone is like a small business or like indie maker. You know, some people were professional artists, but a lot of also people were just like, I'm a hobbyist. I do IT, but I also like to draw on the side. I'm very talented in some things, which, okay, if you are one of those people, I love and admire you. I'm also deeply envious of your skill to be like, I have a day job that's totally not related to art, but I'm so good that I can have art as my side gig. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's hard enough to make art the main thing for me. But yeah. I just went into the Artist Alley like starry-eyed, and because it was an anime convention, most of the things were sort of like fandom or anime related things, right? And that was really exciting for, you know, whatever show I was keeping up with that summer. But after that experience, I was like, oh, okay, Artist Alleys, like this sounds amazing. So I looked into it a bit more and found that, oh, anime conventions always have it, but there are also like Artist Alley centric events, such as like comic, like one in my city in Vancouver, one big one is VanCaf, which I believe stands for Vancouver Comic Arts Festival. So it's like one big Artist Alley. It's just Artist Alley. So I quickly realized, you know, I love anime and manga, but I don't actually really care for cosplay that much. I just liked the Artist Alley. So I was like, oh my gosh, I can go to play events that are just like this. And back when I was still in New York, they had CAB, Comic Arts Brooklyn, which coincidentally was held at my very school, Pratt. So that was like really amazing. So yeah, I tabled, the first one I tabled at was just a really small local one called Mini Commie, and it was just like 100 local vendors selling their art. And that weekend was just like, it's just honestly still to this day one of my most fondest memories. I'm really glad I did that one to start because it was kind of smaller, local, and it helped me dip my feet into this without getting so overwhelmed. But also because my art is not anime centric, it's maybe anime-esque inspired, like, but I don't really do fandom stuff. So presenting in Artist Alley where most people, it was a mixture of some fandom things, but a lot of people were doing original work, fit me really well. And being able to, so Abby, I'm sure to most people this does kind of sound like a scary thing to do, and especially for someone like me who has a healthy dose of social anxiety. The idea of interacting with strangers and trying to not get them to buy your work, but sort of like have that exchange can be really daunting. And I was very scared. I didn't know if I would be too awkward and it would put people off. But you also, want to do certain things where if you see someone look like they are considering buying something, you know, if you chat them up a certain way, sometimes they'll be more inclined to buy it. That sounds bad. I'm not blackmailing people. Just trying to be friendly, you know?
When he's like, hello.
Here's a finger.
Gun to the head.
No. But whatever fear I had was quickly like, this is just my experience. I'm very grateful for it. But it was quickly overturned by the fact that people are just so friendly. Like, people who go to Artist Alleys want to go there. You don't find people at Artist Alleys who are like, oh, I hate all the work here.
Or like dragged there.
Exactly.
For no reason.
People go out of their way to go to conventions. So people are really excited to see the work there. And I also know that the type of style that I do is, I think most people don't. I'm not putting myself down in this way. I was saying to my two hosts, because I know how we feel about that on this podcast. I know that my art has a sort of niche-er audience. Like, it's not as widely appealing as something maybe that has less pink. That's just a fact. Not everyone loves pink. I get it. I don't take it personally. I think you're wrong. Your opinion is wrong because pink is a superior color, obviously. But so most people maybe aren't really into my art, but I know that the people who like this type of art are like me, and they get really excited about it. Like, so when those kind of people pass by my table, and just being able to talk with them and then telling, this is about to sound a little toot your horn, but when they just seem to love my art so much, it gave me this sort of like elated feeling that reminded me why I want to get into art in the first place, which is just like, art gives us some of the fattest headaches. There's so many things that are hard about it, but there's a reason why we still chose this field, right? And for me, it was just I wanted to make cute, happy things that I enjoyed that, if possible, could bring other people joy as well. Because that is how I got into in the first place when I was like a young kid and, you know, seeing anime or manga or seeing art that I like Hello Kitty, like just like those characters that an artist created made me so happy, like stupidly happy. And if someone could look at my art and be like, oh my God, I like the sticker you made enough to put on my laptop and it makes me smile when I look at it. I just want to put my hands on that person's shoulder and be like, you are the reason I do this. Thank you. Thank you for supporting me. I don't know if that was so much a pitch about artist alleys in general as much as my personal experience, but overall,
awesome.
I love artist alleys. They're so great. And I did have the opportunity to table at VanCaf like the following year after that, just kind of like a really big one in my local city. And also, if you table with your friend, like I always had my friend who's not an artist be with me, but she would like help me manage like the behind the tables things and the money and whatnot. I mean, I kind of feel bad because I basically made her do a day job for a day, but it was still just like really fun to do that with my friend as well. So Abby and Ariel, if you're also interested in doing it at some point, imagine tabling with an artist friend. Like share, like
I want to so
like
bad.
the two of you sitting at a table selling your art together. Amazing.
Let's do
Mind
it.
blowing. So fun.
Multitasking, selling art, also recording the podcast. Hey guys, so we're
Also
like recording.
advertising our podcast.
Yeah, you could do like a multi sort of promotion thing. But TLDR,
Yeah, so cool.
artist alleys are great. They're so fun. I am not so much an internet person, so the in-person way to connect with people I really liked, and maybe that's how I got a small measly amount of followers, is because I tabled at conventions. Because how else am I going to get my name out there?
I miss conventions. I miss interacting with other people.
I miss interacting, honestly.
Yeah.
But
I haven't been to a lot of conventions, but back at home in the Philippines, we have a lot of like makers markets and stuff like that, and I've always wanted to join them because like a lot of the artists there just make really cool stuff, and I'm like, I want to sell stickers too.
Yeah, and the fun thing about conventions and artist alleys, which unfortunately because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we really don't know when we'll be able to do it again, but the aspect of not only promoting yourself and being able to connect with people who enjoy your work is being able to support other artists. You know, like the artist alley is where the joke originated of the $20 bill being passed among all the artists, just circulating around because everyone's supporting each other. It's just like a great, wonderful supportive circle of makers, and it's beautiful. Like I not only do I, you know, selfishly like going to artist alleys for my own work, but I really probably maybe the best part is being able to see other people's work and maybe making connections, making new friends, and you know, lots of things can happen from that, and just being able to admire and because, you know, I'm also the sort of person who, if I have lots of artists that I admire on the internet, I don't like leave comments on their posts for whatever reason, and I was like, I should do that. You know, because I might think, oh, if this person has a big enough following, they're not going to care about my comment. But who would ever like not want an additional comment telling them that you like their work or it made you happy? So an artist alley is like a quick way where you can say it to that person's face. It has even more of an impact. You can really support, you know, your peers that way, and I think that's super awesome.
Me at you, Winnie, and also our listeners at you, Winnie. Everyone go comment nice comments on Winnie's post. But yeah, like we always ask this question of like how the job hunt is going and everything like that, and I'm wondering like how different it is when you're a freelance illustrator, and how have you been doing, Winnie?
Great question. Mildly abysmal. I'm going to be honest.
That's such a good slogan.
Yeah,
it's like
abysmal.
It could be a sticker.
Is my new catchphrase going to 2021. So yeah, based on my history, I've sort of done a mixture of in-house work, you know, with internships and whatnot, and also freelance. My most recent job was like with a company where I was an employee. So in that regard, I've sort of had like, I guess, both ends of the experience. And since leaving my last job, I've kind of been at a standstill in a way where I've been applying to a lot of different places with mildly abysmal results. But I've sort of
Relatable.
been like, oh, should I be more clear about what it is that is the short-term goal? Like, I have like a longer-term goal idea that's in the back of my head, but that's like years in the future. But for right now, it's like, should I be aiming for a full-time in-house job? Like, maybe, or is this the time to push the freelance side a bit more, especially because maybe not enough people know about me because of the unfortunately pretty weak internet presence. So then there's the beating myself up for the, shouldn't I have figured this out already? Like, what is it exactly that I'm trying to do? Like, I thought I was supposed to have a way figured out before I graduated, but I've been out of school for like a good number of months, and you I guess the older you get, you kind of realize no adult actually has it figured out. You just get better at hiding it or just faking it. But I think I was thinking it would be really great to be an employee at some sort of company for that sexy stability.
Yes,
but also
that's what we all want.
Because on the freelance side, and I guess included with that is working in my own brand in terms of like my store and making my own merchandise. Those are things I really want to do. That's sort of the long-term goal, but it's not enough to kick off and start flying. Is that a phrase? I might have just made that up on the spot.
No, that makes sense.
So trying to look for more conventional, is conventional the right word? Just company in-house opportunities that if I could land one would give me sort of ease a bit of anxiety in terms of paying the bills and in that sense, so that I could work on my own things on the side. But yeah, in terms of responses to my job applications, could be better. Could definitely be better. Yeah.
Let's make it better, guys.
Follow Winnie,
please. I mean, I don't really do freelance at all. I've never done it, so it's kind of like very foreign to me. So like, do you just like contact people more than anything, like directly, or do you just do applications?
I mean, I think Ariel, you've also done a little bit of freelance as well, so feel free to pitch in because I don't know how.
I mean, it really depends. Sometimes they come to you, sometimes you have to be like, hi. I'm here, I exist, I can do work for you. But I've been lucky where the freelance projects I've been getting is the people coming to me. Which I'm very, very thankful for. But I'm also like trying my best to reach out to people to let them know that I'm here, because I know like maybe my art will like I don't know, I feel like my art is just circulating in like a certain art circle. That's why I'm trying to like branch out and actually reach out to more companies.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense, actually.
That does make sense.
Yeah, and to second that, every freelance is going to be a bit different, but I think a mixture of both is good. And I've had experience on both where like I actually for Tofugu, I did a sort of illustrations for one of their online articles. And I actually reached out to them first about an internship, which didn't work out, but then they were like, we'll keep your contact info in mind. And then it was one of the few times that they actually followed up on that. And they were like, oh, we have an opportunity to do like a freelance illustration project. Would you like do it? I'm like, oh my gosh, you weren't just saying that? Like 99.99% of the time, you weren't just say that. And then other times I've been lucky where the other person reached out to me. But even as someone who has, I guess, technically multiple freelance opportunities, is it bad if I'm completely honest and I say the process still confuses me? Like I still get really tripped up and anxious and scared about contracts and if my rates are good.
Me. I don't know anything. Like especially for, I feel like
I was gonna ask how you do rates, but
my frustration comes from not like graduating as an illustration student.
I have no excuse
I only know like the back end. I know the back end as like an animation person. However, like I don't want to get into like the animating part, so I'm focusing on illustration.
Animations though, or
but like at the same time, I'm like, I don't know business.
Yeah,
And
we
I
didn't
was-
get
I
to
was
do
like given like a crash
Most art
course
schools
in school.
did not even
They don't do
attempt to
that.
teach
I
us
really
about
wish they
ridiculous.
did.
and you know, they tell you that there's resources you can get, like the Graphic Designers Guild, their big fat pricing book. Yes, I own it, and I'm glad I do. But how much has it really helped me?
Is it worth it?
I've done pricing seminars. I know that one that has been pretty. Oh, I know something about the Twitter circle that's been, circling around is Jessica Hish. Is that her name? Yes. So I attended
Jessica
that pricing
Hish, yeah.
seminar, and then she also offered her pricing sort of PDF that you could purchase. And, there are resources out there, and Lightbox is great. Resources like Lightbox,
Yeah,
that structure is
Lightbox.
fantastic.
We need to retweet their stuff.
But at the end of
so
the day, maybe because I'm so hopeless, I still oftentimes don't know how to do these things. The pricing part is really the part that I'm like, I don't know how much I'm worth. If I'm going to be honest, most times I've probably underpriced myself.
Big mood.
Which,
yeah.
That's why you have the Discord.
Honestly though, I always look at like if with pricing, I always like go back into our
Right.
Discord and see what people are saying, because the only way we can like kind of figure out how to price is if we ask other artists. But at
Yep,
the same
yep,
time,
yep.
it's like
Share
a
your
lot
rates.
of us also don't know what we're doing,
yeah.
so we're just
I
like,
mean, is it a
"Oh."
hot take to be like, I really wish we had a culture that really promotes transparency. Like, I think there's some aspect
I
that's like, oh, let
wish.
me
Yeah.
not share my prices.
That's not a hot take.
Because it's it should be some sort of guarded secret, or like I need to hide it so I can price myself even lower and then snap jobs from other people. And I'm not saying that's like the overall culture, but I think the idea that we should be transparent about our prices, and mentioning just earlier that I think I've probably underpriced myself in a lot of projects in the past comes from a deep-rooted sense of maybe not valuing oneself enough, or like, just all those things, all those like not fun things. But one way that has helped me to try to unlearn that thinking a lot is remembering that this is a community thing. Every time we underprice ourselves, it might hurt someone else. We need to make sure we're all giving, all demanding and getting paid good, reasonable wages and prices for our labor and our hard work, so that others can do the same. Because if we all underprice ourselves, it's just going to lower that for everyone, right? So
exactly. I've been trying to keep that in mind, especially with like some of the freelance projects I've been getting. It's like I need to learn how to price myself at a right price, because if I go lower, I know it's going to affect other artists in the future, because people aren't going to take our job seriously, and people still don't.
Right? So we have to do whatever we can.
We just gotta do it ourselves.
Pay your artists fairly,
Please,
everyone.
Please
This is
don't go to Fiverr, and if you do go to Fiverr,
Tip them.
please tip them $5 billion.
And I would like to make a very big PSA. I've had to learn this the hard way, but creative work is not minimum wage type work. And that is something I really need to knock into my brain, because I've done work in the past where I'm like, oh, I basically did that for minimum wage, and I should not have been doing that. No one should be doing creative work for minimum wage, okay? Minimum wage work is stacking shelves at Target, right? It's
And
not designing logos.
And like we went to college to learn this craft, so
I mean, I don't want to only say depressing things, but as more time passes, the more I'm like, oh, does a college degree mean anything? Like,
it doesn't though. It doesn't.
we would like to think it does. Like, whenever it comes to wages and things, I think that too. Like, look, I have this freaking bougie degree from a private art school in New York. Surely this means something. I'm not saying it means nothing, but then
You can definitely make it in the industry without going to college. So definitely keep that in mind for people who are like kind of at a crossroads. Something else I wanted to like talk about was like you kind of getting more into doing an online store due to the pandemic and like making accessories. I'm like, do you want?
Abby is a very
you,
prized
like,
patron.
Went through that process.
She's bought things from me. Thank you, Abby.
Yes.
Right. So the online store was something that I've always wanted to do, you know, sort of around the time that I did the Artist Alley. That was always in the back of my mind. Like, I would like to have the real life presence by attending such events, but having the online store would also be great because so many people would mention like, oh, do you have an online store? Like, maybe I didn't bring enough cash today and I would like to buy this thing later. And it always sucked to be like, I'm sorry, I don't. So basically, unless you saw me at like various conventions over the summer each year in my hometown, you would have no way to obtain goods from me. And then, you know, when the pandemic started and I realized that my usual tradition, can I say it's a tradition, of doing artist alleys over the summer just wasn't possible. So that really pushed me to speed up the process of getting it up online. So I say speed up the process. I've been thinking about it for like multiple years and I just did.
Wow.
Well, in my defense, I'd like to say a lot of it was the headache of having to figure out shipping and taxes. And the setting up the store, I think, was the biggest headache of the whole process. And I just didn't know what I was doing. I had
the logistic part
right.
of it.
I had some friends who had stores, but just like I had to basically search for all of that information through guides and things that people have written online first to feel like I had enough information before I dipped my feet into the proverbial pool. So yeah, I opened that up. I forget when sometime over the summer that I opened up my Etsy store, which, quick thing about like platforms, I'm not here to be like, you should use Etsy. I'm just saying that's what I use. And I chose it because knowing the fact that I didn't have, saying not the biggest online following is like, I'm close to no online following.
Hopefully after this podcast, that will
be different.
Which is, you know, a lot of my own doing because I just have not been that active on the internet, right? But I know Etsy, people can find you through searches, which might not be the case. With Store Envy, with Big Cartel, I find that those happen to be more commonly used as the platforms for artists who have like a big enough following that they can like just post their shop link in their Twitter or Instagram or whatnot. So I chose Etsy.
Does Etsy have a product like listing limit?
They might.
You have to pay per
I don't
product
believe they do.
list, though.
Because I know, like, I forgot which one, but there's one, what do you call it, like store platform that you have to like pay extra to like.
I don't know which that
show
one
more
is, but it's
things.
probably a more subscription-based one, and Etsy isn't.
It's probably, I think it's Big Cartel, maybe.
Don't
I'm
quote
not
us
sure,
on this.
But yeah, I've also looked into this. One day I'll probably open an online store.
Eyebrow time, raising our eyebrows,
year?
Daniel. Hey.
I mean, when we post this, it'll be 2021, so this year.
Oh, goodness gracious. Right, this is a post. We're in the future.
Time
Etsy
travel.
is like 20 cents per listing plus like a small percentage for every item sold. So can't do the math quickly in my head. I forget what the percentage, 3%, something like that. So I thought, as someone who does not understand deeply about these things, I thought, oh, that doesn't sound too bad. That doesn't sound like they're taking my entire paycheck. So I use Etsy. It's the user face is like clean enough, and there's a big marketplace for handmade indie goods already, etc. So yeah, and then honestly, my Etsy was like pretty quiet for the first like couple weeks or months because I just had leftover stock from previous conventions that I was just like, okay, I'll just put it up on my online store. And I was, and I still am in the process of, I'm really excited to design new things, make new products and artwork to turn into goods for my store. So then I did that a little bit later. But that also has like, even with the best manufacturers, like, you know, a pretty hefty turnaround time, especially during the pandemic, right? If you get sent things, if you send files in to be made into keychains, stickers, etc., whatever it is. So in the meantime, I was like, maybe it's time to bring out the dusty bag of random craft supplies and hobby materials I've hoarded for the past decade, which included Shrinky Dink. So I started making a lot of Shrinky Dink things. And the internet is a wondrous place. I think Abby knows this because Abby is such a great supporter, retweets all my things. I love you, Abby. I made like a pair of earrings that I really didn't think anything about, and Twitter seemed to really like it, so I became a Shrinky Dinky machine. And like mid-November, I made like 40 pairs of earrings in a week. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh. They're so good.
Yeah.
But that's so cool.
Yeah, the online shop stuff is like an aspect of in my future that I really want to be a mainstay. The designing original goods, whether it's handmade, like actually making things with materials, or sending things to be made from manufacturers and running my own online store. It's what I've always loved. You know, I fell in love with it at the Artist Alley, and also I'm a dork, and I really love packing orders, writing the handmade notes, and including like a little sticker gift, and just like I've hoarded too much stationery, so like using it as an excuse, like, oh, I finally can use it to decorate these packages. I love that so much. I would totally be okay with it being my full-time job. So yeah, I love the online store and just Artist Alley type things.
Oh, that's so nice.
I think this is a good time to bring up our last and final corner, since we're running out of time, and it's the Would You Rather corner. And it's where we ask kind of job related would you rather questions, and we have a double question and an angel question, and I always ask the double question.
It's okay.
So,
Abby's
Winnie,
still you're both angels through and through. You're just, someone has to take this role, so you're biting the bullet for us.
Yeah, I can do it. Would you rather deal with a passive aggressive client through email or a Karen at your table during a convention?
Oh, you weren't kidding. These are both pretty horrible. I think actually the Karen. And my reasoning is I'm not good with those situations in real life whatsoever. I honestly, Karen might make me cry, frustratingly. But but I chose it because it at least sounds like something that can be done by the end of the day. But going back and forth with a client, like, that's true. How long is that gonna drag
That's
out?
true.
Like, you know, am I gonna be doing this for like a month?
True.
That sounds horrible. I'll just deal with the one Karen and make a one bad day.
That's what I was thinking. I
You're
was like,
so valid.
with Karen, you don't necessarily know if you're gonna see them ever again for the rest of your life, but that email can last for a real long time.
Oh my gosh, you're so right. And passive aggressiveness is its own thing.
Right. It makes you feel like you're doing so much unnecessary detective work. You know Karen's being an a-hole to you right now. Like, so
you're not being gaslit by the Karen, you know.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. That's great.
Do I go now?
Yeah.
Yes. So the angel question is, I feel like I already know.
Yeah, I already know.
Am I that easy to read? What's gonna come in? But it's like, would you rather have a deal with like a dream company for apparel designs? Like it would be like Winnie, and then like a collection of your own like merch line or whatever. Or would you rather be able to live off your own shop making accessories and stuff, like Clammy Heart?
Second one for sure.
Yeah.
You know, artists like Clammy Heart, I admire her so much in what she's built for herself. And to be honest, more often than not, I've been very tempted to get my own embroidery machine, because she was like, oh, I just like got it as a gift one Christmas or whatnot. And she started doing that, and I was like, oh my God, this sounds amazing. But
your designs would be so cute embroidered.
So sweet. But yeah, like that, what she does, and kind of the things I talked a little bit about during today's episode, is the long-term goal, like the ultimate goal, which you know, I think whenever you ask someone this kind of question, they might have more glamorous answers, like, oh, I would love to work for Disney or become my own entrepreneur or whatever. And I'm just like, I just like want to make cute things for stickers and sweatshirts, and somehow amazingly make that enough money from that to sustain myself. I don't know how realistic of a goal it is, but then I look at people like Clammy Heart and I'm like, this is amazing. You're doing exactly what I want to do, and I would love for someday in my life to be able to do that.
Winnie, if you make a beret, I would totally buy it in a heartbeat. You know me.
Yo,
I'd be your first
Abby
customer.
And I are beret sisters. Like, we like exchanged because we're people, like we exchanged, like, I remember some selfies with each other once. Like, oh, this is like the type of things I would wear if it were not a pandemic. And I saw a lot of berets exchanged. in those photos. We both really love
Yes.
Razor Great. It feels like you've done a
I love
hairstyle
Ray.
without doing a hairstyle. It's great.
Yeah, it's awesome. Also, if you have like bad hair day, you're like, look at the beret.
Exactly. Life
Beautiful
hack right
now.
there.
But anyway,
yeah.
thank you, Winnie, so much for joining us.
Yeah,
and
it was really nice talking to. It's always nice talking
it
to you,
was so
honestly.
awesome.
Same to you guys. You guys,
And
every time I speak with you two, my day just brightens. You guys are just like two of the most lovely, most friendly and supportive people. This I cannot say the supportive enough. Like you guys are literally like hype man number 1 and 2. And it is so I feel so humble to know you guys and just so grateful that we had the Post Art Discord because I don't know how we would have ever crossed paths otherwise.
Yeah.
You guys are just so amazing.
I'm so glad I
And
met you.
This podcast, you know, with a slightly unfun premise of people who are unemployed are interviewed is just such a great resource. I hope that other people, I know that people who've been listening to this, because I listen to your podcast, I'm just like, oh my gosh, the solidarity.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This is like the thing I needed to hear to be like, I'm not alone. None of us are alone. We're all in this together and we can support each other. And that's just, sorry to end it on a mushy note. It's just such a beautiful thing. Run by the two most lovely people.
Yeah.
Hey, anyone who's listening and you need to hire someone, hire these two. They're so talented. Like, hello.
Oh
Why
my God,
are you two
Winnie.
running this podcast? Why are you not already hired? I'm very confused. I would hire you guys if I could.
Oh my gosh.
You know, if I was some big CEO.
This is not our episode,
Thank
Winnie.
you.
Every
But
episode
thank
is
you.
your episode.
Anyway, because it is Winnie's episode,
Yeah.
where can
people find you?
So I did do the recent thing of quote unquote rebranding. So I've made it very easy. It's Winnie is Pink everywhere. Winnie at Instagram, on Twitter, Winnie is Pink. Winnie is Pink at gmail.com. Winnie is Pink.com. Winnie is Pink on Etsy.
Hey.
Literally all the things. It's just Winnie is Pink.
Let's go.
Which makes it so easy. Honestly, at everyone is like, just use one username
Yeah.
for everything. It makes life so much easier.
Yes, it's awesome. But yeah,
And yeah.
you guys should hire Winnie, please, for any freelance stuff, or just buy her stuff on Etsy because it's
Yes.
adorable. And please follow her. I'm like, here's my knife to you, to your eardrum. Please.
I have a very
go
important
follow
question
Winnie
before
on
we
Twitter.
sign off. Are you two going to be responsible for my dental bill? Because the amount of cavities I got from the sweetness and wholesomeness of this episode is a serious endeavor. So you might get a bill soon in your email for you gotta send in a big fat check.
It's worth it.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
However, if you would like to help pay for Winnie's dental,
It's just like
Good
have to save
segue.
$20
support this
around.
podcast.
Support this podcast. Support Abby
Support this podcast. Follow us. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Hey Hire Us Pod. If you would like to email us, it's heyhireuspodcast@gmail.com. You can also support us on Ko-Fi and help pay for Winnie's dental bill
Let's do it.
at ko-fi.com/heyhireuspod.
Thank you guys
Yay!
for listening. Thank you,
Thank
Winnie,
you.
again for
Thank you,
being our
Winnie.
beautiful
Thank you for
guest.
having me.
Yeah.